Good morning and happy Thanksgiving week. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is the Broadcast Retirement Network, and this is BRN AM for Monday, November 25th, 2019. And here are our top stories. Are you lonely in retirement? You don't have to be. And we'll be talking about retirement coaches. What are they, and can you use one? It's Social Media Monday, and that means a look at the intersection between personal finance, retirement, and social media. But we've got to change this week. Joining me today, Angela Moore. She's a senior editor with Market Watch. Hi, Angela. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Great to see you. And thanks for pinch hitting today for Social Media Monday. Our regular host, Devin Banerjee, is out today, but we certainly appreciate you coming on and great to see you again.
Thank you.
As we always do on Social Media Monday, we take a look at where the retirement and social media and finance all intersects. And I know you have some interesting stories for us this week. So what's top of mind for you and the folks at Market Watch?
Well, it's funny. One story that got a lot of excitement from our readers was about Kathy Lee Gifford, the former Today Show host. And she retired recently, and she was living in Connecticut, and she was, according to her, dying from loneliness. And she moved to Tennessee and has just found so much happiness. And it touches on a lot of pain points for retirees. One, you retire and you don't really know what to do with yourself. And in Kathy Lee's situation, her husband had passed away a few years ago. Her kids were out of the house and engaged and, involved in their own lives. And she just felt really lonely. And that's a huge issue for retirees. Plus, she was living in a very high cost of living area. She was living in Connecticut. Now, Kathy Lee probably doesn't have the money problems that most of us do, but she relocated down to Tennessee where the cost of living is way lower. And she has just found a whole new life. She's writing, she's making new friends, and we've gotten so much positive reader response from this piece. It's really funny.
So, just to kind of touch on that, I mean, there's obviously the loss of a spouse, a big deal. That death can obviously make you feel very isolated. The mental health component sounds like that's a huge component to retirement. Don't you agree?
100%. I mean, we found that when people retire, as much as we might moan about, working and the 9-to-5 grind and all of that, work is a focal point for a lot of us, and that's where we derive our identity and our sense of self. And what do you say to people when you meet them at a party? Oh, what do you do? And that's when you don't have that anymore, and it fills your time and it gives a shape to your day. And when you don't have that anymore, people are really lost. They can be really lost. So, a lot of times experts say maybe try to transition to a part-time work arrangement for the money and also for the focus it gives you. Or you might have people say, you might want to get into volunteering. But honestly, if you start that on day one of your retirement, you're going to feel terrible. So people say, when you're thinking about retiring, these are some of the things you can do to prepare yourself emotionally so you don't feel like your life is so empty once you've retired. This thing that you're looking forward to for so long that when it finally comes, makes you feel terrible. It's very upsetting to people.
Yeah, it's something that you really said really hit home with me, and that is self-identifying with work and how that defines you. And maybe that is the focal point of the problem, because maybe you shouldn't, as an individual, identify solely with work. You're a senior editor, I'm a broadcaster / consultant, XYZ is this, and maybe it's you are more than that, and maybe so it's about thinking about what your impact is to society. You have a good family, you have friends, all those kind of things. Maybe that's where we kind of we need to redefine. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. As a culture, it's a real weakness, I think, because, it's not just retirees. I know a lot of parents who are stay-at-home parents, and the things that they do are very valuable, but I feel that sometimes people shut them down. Oh, you're a stay-at-home dad, you're a stay-at-home mom, you don't, you're not interesting to me. Or even someone who's out of work, when as much as, work is hard and, we hate our boss, or I happen to love my boss, but, we have, yes, but, there's all these things, these gripes that come with work, the commuting, the whatever. But when you don't have that, as you say, and as we were both saying, it's really a lost sense of self.
Yeah, and the other thing I picked up on, and you're right, Kathy Lee Gifford probably doesn't have the money challenges that many of us will have in retirement, but there are other places to live, and it sounds like people are relocating to different parts of the country. Nashville sounds very fun to be a place to go, but it sounds like that is also a trend. People selling their homes, maybe RVing or going to other places in the country to live, and that is a rebirth in a way.
That's absolutely right. I mean, we've seen that again with our readers. We have people who write in who give us their the things that they want. You know, they want this kind of climate. They want to be near this kind of hospital or whatever. And one of our writers crunches the numbers and gives them ideas of places to live. Because yeah, you grow up or you raise your family in a place that maybe has high taxes, or you know, you have this big house. You retire, you don't need that anymore. So you know, it's if you can do this right and downsize in a way, you know, you sell the house and yeah, you go on the road or you move to Costa Rica or whatever. There's just so much out there for people, and it's just a matter of getting the balance of being able to have connections with other people so that you have that, you know, so you don't feel lost and lonely, but also being able to have the money to spend and to do the things you want. Because gosh, we've worked so long, we've saved money for all this time, and now it's time to enjoy it. It's nice if you can.
Yeah, and I don't want to lose sight of, you know, we talked earlier about mental health and the mental acuity and the challenges there if you're lonely, but also healthcare. We know, Angela, is going to be really expensive in retirement. Right now, it's about $300 and some odd thousand for a couple in retirement. But when you relocate, one of the things you probably should think about is how far are you from the hospital? How far are you from your healthcare provider or providers? As you get older, you know, the plumbing starts to get backed up and starts to wear down. That's probably an important thing to think about as well.
Yes, that's completely true. And there's a lot of cities, you know, smaller cities that are near universities that have really cutting edge healthcare, but there's also parts of the country that are just healthcare deserts. And, you know, where I live in the Northeast, you're tripping over doctors everywhere you go. But there's other places where some counties, people have to drive a very long way just to get a primary care physician appointment. And or maybe in some areas there isn't even a doctor. You're seeing a nurse practitioner who in many cases can handle your problem, but there isn't a lot of options for people healthcare wise. And as you get older, I think a lot of people want the very, very best care that they can get.
Yeah, and this is certainly a huge issue for many, one that needs to be solved, especially with inflated healthcare prices. Angela, I want to hold you over to our next segment. When we come back, we're going to talk to Angela Moore from MarketWatch a little bit more. So stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings in retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network. Welcome back. You know, many of us have heard about financial advisors who weigh in and help us budget perhaps, and also think about where we need to invest our money to save for our future. But what about a retirement coach? What exactly is a retirement coach? And do we need one? Angela Moore, senior editor from MarketWatch, remains with us. Angela, thanks for sticking around this morning.
My pleasure.
So great first segment in Social Media Monday, talking about mental health and Kathy Lee Gifford relocating and some of the implications there for retirement. Let's shift gears and let's try to help those out there who are either approaching or thinking about retirement, maybe 30, 40, 50 years down the road, or maybe never in retiring. And I know you want to talk about retirement coaches. Do we need a retirement coach?
Well, there's coaches for everything. You've got your weight loss coach, and you've got your career coach, and you've got your personal therapist. I mean, we all need a little help here and there, I think. But, one of our writers wrote this piece. It was linked to holiday giving and sort of something you can give to someone in your life. And one of these things was a retirement coach. And it really got me thinking, we spend so much time. I mean, I think about retirement all the time, but we are also hopefully all putting a little bit of money away every paycheck to fund our retirement. And again, it sort of dovetails with what we were talking about before. You get to this point and people want to make the best of it. Ideally, you want to do this right because, let's be honest, there's sort of that sweet spot in retirement where you've got your health and you've got a lot of people to spend time with. You want to be with your grandkids and whatever, and you don't want to kind of waste it flailing around. You want to kind of live your best life while you have the money and while you're healthy and able to. So that's kind of where a retirement coach comes in. And there's lots of different kinds of coaches, but the idea is that you find, does everyone need one? Maybe not, but maybe you find a person that fits with you and that you can kind of plan out a roadmap for retirement.
And Angela, is this person the same or equal to a financial advisor, or is it someone that's independent of a financial advisor? Because in my mind, there's kind of this crossover that's occurring in the industry where, you're not just let's pick stocks or let's pick the mutual fund. Now you're actually coaching someone from being a younger person through retirement and through all the issues.
It's really true. I mean, I think it is different than a financial advisor, although financial advisors have been kind of bleeding over into this area a little bit. It's not necessarily just about, amassing the biggest pile of money you can, although that's also great. It's also about, where do you want to live? What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? And kind of thinking when it comes to Social Security claiming strategies and where you live and all these types of things. It's very intertwined. But a retirement coach would look at your finances, but they'd also look at your hobbies and your interests and volunteer opportunities around you, or part-time work or anything that can help you build the life that you want in retirement. And I know that it's typical for a lot of retirees for the first year or two to really suffer with finding the right things to do. They watch too much TV. There's a huge spike in alcoholism and binge drinking when people first retire. And people, some sort of these little gremlins that have been hiding in the past pop to the surface because there's all this open time and people's wheels start turning. So a retirement coach can kind of really help you, live your best life or get on the right track so you're making good choices for yourself.
It almost sounds like this person is a life coach in a way. And
absolutely, yeah.
It's like they're mentoring you to kind of figure out what you can do, what you can't do. It seems like it's pretty important. I think, too, we were talking about in the earlier segment, the disconnection that many feel when they unplug from work. This person could be a bridge. But I still think that the financial, and I agree that it isn't probably an independent person, but I think what we need from our financial advisors out there is to think a little bit more, I hate this word, but I'm going to use it holistically. Think broadly with clients, because clients do need that type of guidance. It's not only about taxation and putting money away and diversification. It's about these other things, because the emotional or the qualitative is just actually as important, if not more important, than the quantitative. Do you agree?
I completely agree. And I also just wanted to point out that retirement, because we live so long now, I mean, knock on wood, but we have these long lives, and retirement can be 1/3 of your life. And you don't want to just wing it, right? You don't want to just be like, oh, I'll see what happens. I mean, seeing what happens is a fine strategy. Sometimes you don't want to plan every second, but this is like a pretty significant part of your life. It's different than maybe 40 years ago when your grandparents retired or whatever, and they retired at 65, they had their pension, and maybe they lived 10 years. Now people are living into the hundreds, so, or certainly into their 90s. By the time you get to be 65, you are probably gonna live quite a long time after that. So you want to do it with purpose.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why you want to. I always felt like when you retired, you were graduating to maybe selecting what you really wanted to do, right? You served, you saved, and now if you enjoy playing music, you teach guitar lessons. If you enjoy cooking, you go work at a restaurant part-time. And that's where I think this gig economy can really serve those who have retired, because it, as you said, it's not really defined as sitting on the rocking chair with the grandkids on your lap looking out the porch. I mean, that's not, or playing tennis or playing golf. That can be part of it. Being with friends, certainly an important part, but I mean, it's about productivity, I think. And I think we're in the process of redefining that for a lot of reasons.
Yes, absolutely. As you say, it's not just playing golf, that cliche. There is so much to do. This is a very adventurous generation that's retiring now. I mean, there is a lot of cool traveling to do. There's, one of my friends' mom and dad, they go to third world countries and they give out solar lanterns to people who live in villages. They're doing such cool stuff that they couldn't do when they worked because they didn't have time. And now they're like traveling all over the world helping people. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and technologically, we now have the ability to FaceTime, and we're talking to each other through Skype, right? I mean, that's you're in New York, and I'm sitting here in New Jersey, and we're having a conversation and informing the audience. But that exists now in even remote locations. Now you can Skype. There are cellular towers or digital towers that you can do these things. So there's ways to stay connected for people beyond. Now, it's not the same as the human interaction that we have, but you can still remain close to family and friends regardless of where you are. Last question, Angela. Robo-advisors, and I know I'm kind of going off a little topical here, but we are talking about retirement and financial advisors. I was going to say that one of the things that's great about working with a financial advisor is the establishment of trust, or this life coach, the establishment of trust. Do you ever see a time where the robo-advisor creates that sense of trust, at least in the near future, that can mimic the sense of trust that exists with a financial advisor or a human life coach?
I think robo-advisors are good for people who kind of want to get their feet wet with investing. I know that when I first started investing, I didn't have enough money for any human to talk to me, or any human with actual skills to talk to me. So a robo would have been a great option for me, just to kind of pick stuff out and not worry so much about being fleeced. And it's also good for people who are really confident in what they're doing. There's some investors that need a little more hand holding and that feel kind of nervous about, having the sole responsibility for picking everything. But some investors are really confident. And I think as you start trying the robo investing, maybe you have some wins, and you feel like, okay, I can do this. I'm doing this. And so I don't know. I know people who robo invest and they love it. So I think it's really great for some people.
Yeah, I think it just depends on who you are, and maybe as subsequent generations use the program, maybe they don't, and they're using technology, maybe they don't have as big an issue. Angela, great job on Social Media Monday. You were fabulous, and I think
thanks, Jeff.
You're giving Devin a run for his money. Yeah, he'll be back.
Well,
he'll be back next
I'll
week.
talk about retirement any day. I love it. It's near and dear to my heart.
You were fabulous. Thanks so much for coming on, and we will talk to you again very soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Hope you found it educational and helpful as you plan for your day, week, or in retirement. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out today's edition of the Morning Pulse. It's a short Thanksgiving week, but we're not done. Check us out again tomorrow. And until then, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.